It has been a big year for Mega Man on Nintendo Switch all around. We had Legacy Collection 1 and 2, we had Mega Man X Collection come out as well, and now Mega Man 11 is finally making its way to our favorite hybrid platform. The demo was released last week, a lot of people were able to try the game for the first time, and now that we've completed the game, we are going to review it and talk about what we thought. First of all, I want to say that this game kind of reminds me a little bit of Mega Man 8. Not in the gameplay, just because Mega Man 11 does things so drastically different. We'll get into the double gear system here in a moment. But just visually, it's weird to see a Mega Man game that isn't 8-bit. Mega Man 8, of course, was the first time that the series went into the 32-bit territory, and that's why it does remind me a little bit about that entry. Now, Mega Man 11 stands out for one huge, obvious gameplay change, and that is the double gear system. The fact that you can slow things down, and the game is probably a little bit quicker than most other Mega Man games, honestly. And you can also power up your shots by using this double gear system that brings something very cool, unique, and inventive to the franchise. Now, I doubt that this is something that sticks with the franchise for a very long time, just because it's more story-based, and I feel like it's really cool for this game, and I don't feel like they should try to push it into any future Mega Man releases that might be in the pipeline. The double gear system is something that, in my opinion, is so unique that I kind of hope it just sticks to Mega Man 11 and they don't try to put it everywhere else. But it's a really good system, and it honestly changed things up as far as gameplay goes. And that's something that is important, right? Because you've had 10 other Mega Man games before these, at least in mainline games. There's been many other Mega Man games if you include the X series and other series that have happened on handheld platforms and things like that. But they needed to do something different, and the double gear system, in my opinion, was a success. It changes up boss fights, it changes up some of the patterns, and of course, the game can be way quicker just because you can slow things down. And when you're not slowing things down, if you want the extra challenge, you can still try to play the game in its incredibly fast native pace. One thing I will say about the double gear system is that for me, the power gear wasn't necessarily as useful as the speed gear. I never really used it. Every once in a while I would if I remembered, but I don't know if it was the fact that it's mapped to like the left side of my control and I don't use that left side of my hands all that often unless I'm moving the character, or what. I honestly didn't find it extremely useful, and I ignored it for most of my experience. I understand that the double gear system might be a little bit divisive for Mega Man fans. Some people want it to be super traditional, but for me at least, the change was a welcome one, and I personally liked it quite a bit. Let me know what you guys feel about the double gear system in the comments below. But what is a Mega Man game without boss fights, right? That's why we play these things. The level design is very good in this game. Let me just point that out. I love the levels, and getting through them to eventually reach the boss was a treat in itself. But the boss fights are very well designed this go around. We do have 8 Robot Masters as well as the Dr. Wily stuff. Afterwards, the structure of the game is still very Mega Man-like. You can go from boss to boss in whatever order you want. You can probably, at this point, maybe figure out by going online which bosses are easiest and which weapons that they give you are going to be more useful for fighting other bosses. There's a whole meta there that I don't need to explain. If you're a fan of Mega Man, that all remains intact. You can still play this however you want, but I did find that those Robot Master weapons are way more useful this time around. I don't know if it's just because I was already playing Mega Man differently that I decided like, hey, let me try to use some of these other weapons way more than I normally would, because at least the way I played Mega Man, I would only ever use the weapons that you got from the Robot Masters against other Robot Masters because they were weak against it, and you wanted to defeat them very quickly and be more efficient. That's how I traditionally use those, and I suspect that a lot of other people did as well. Everyone kind of sticks to the Buster and the slash P shooter for most of the game, and I find that is not the case with Mega Man 11. I do use a lot of these other weapons, and I'm honestly happy because it continued to bring even more gameplay variety to a game that already was drastically different than past Mega Man games because of the aforementioned double gear system. Some of the boss fights in here are like super memorable. I love the changes that Blockman goes through. He goes from like this little creature, then he gets like huge, and then you break him down and he goes back into being small once again, throwing all these blocks at you. Some of these guys are so quick. You're seeing gameplay now. They did a really good job with the bosses and the level design this time, and I don't want to spoil too many of the bosses here. But there's some really cool stuff in this game. Trust me. I know that this is me probably just getting a little ahead of myself here, but there was that rumor that there is a new Mega Man X game in development, and I am so freaking curious to see what they're going to do to change that up gameplay-wise the way they did with the Double Gear system for 11. Could they possibly add the Double Gear system to whatever future Mega Man X game might or might not be in development? And that is something I am definitely going to be looking out for. I know that that's going to be a welcome addition, and I honestly just had that idea now while I was making this video, so I hope that that does happen. Another thing that Mega Man is known for is the difficulty. When I first played it at E3, I couldn't get through a stage to save my life. Of course, we're at a demo kiosk, and you're under the pressure of like people watching you. The developers are there, and for me at least, I always like feel a little bit strange with that because I don't want the developers to see me be terrible at their games. But the difficulty in Mega Man 11 is definitely there. Now, I will say that I do think it's an easier Mega Man game. This doesn't rank as one of the harder Mega Man games by any means, but the difficulty that is there is still very welcomed. Once you get used to the Double Gear system, it kind of, unfortunately, does make things a little too easy. I wish it was a little harder. That's okay. I suspect that a lot of younger people are going to be introduced into the Mega Man franchise through this, and it's going to be fun for them to go back through the history. And now that the collections are available on Nintendo Switch, you can go play all of these amazing games. And if you start at 11, you're going to have a little bit of a harder time with some of the older stuff and getting used to the fact that there is no Double Gear system in the other one. So that's going to be something fun for new fans. But I was still pleasantly surprised with the difficulty. The platforming and the gameplay is still as on point as ever. I can't wait to see what speedrunners are going to do with this game, just because there's some sections that, you know, you're encouraged to use the ability to slow down time. And I can't wait to see if speedrunners somehow manage a way to just go through these stages super quickly. That's one thing that I'm now really looking forward to. One thing that plays a little bit into the difficulty of the game is the upgrading and the item shop that is in the game. You don't see this a lot in Mega Man games where you can buy parts. You can upgrade the Mega Buster. You can make it so that when everything is slowed down, Mega Man is still moving at regular speeds, and you purchase these things by getting those little like nuts and bolt looking things in the level, so you are incentivized to pick those things up. And there's a lot of ways to upgrade Mega Man. I haven't even upgraded him all the way. One of my favorites is just the ability to charge up your Mega Buster on its own. You don't have to be holding the button down anymore. That was a very welcome upgrade that I wasn't expecting. And you can also make things easier on yourself by just buying a ton of lives. Of course, this is going to kind of be dependent on the currency that you pick up. You're going to run out of currency. It's not like it's all over the place, but buying a bunch of lives before going into a boss that you know you've had a really hard time with, but you know that if you can try just one or two more times, you're going to be able to get them. That was a really awesome feelings as well. You can also buy energy tanks, you can buy weapon tanks, mystery tanks, and other stuff as well. There's some stuff that makes the game incredibly easy, but we don't use those. So you can use the beat call, which makes it so that beat comes and like rescues you from falling into a pit or something like that. Again, that makes the game a little too easy. You can also use like pierce protectors that are going to make it so that spikes don't necessarily damage you or kill you instantly, and that stuff gets a little bit too easy, but there is that variety there. You can make this a very difficult experience, especially if you go into that superhero mode that's there. That is extremely difficult, but if you're newer to the franchise and you're being eased in and you need a little bit of help, these things are there for you if you need it. And I love that they are limited both in the amount of stuff you can take and the currency that is being given to you. I was honestly a little nervous when Mega Man 11 got revealed. It had this new art style that I wasn't used to, but eventually I got used to it, and now I love the art style quite a bit. It had these drastically different gameplay mechanics that I didn't know were going to be really good for the series, and sure enough, I ended up getting used to those and loving it. They have made a true sequel to what Mega Man has always been here. They improved everything they needed to improve and made it different enough so it's not stale. For me, Mega Man 11 gets a full recommendation. Go get it. If you enjoyed the series, I have no doubt in my mind that you are going to enjoy Mega Man 11. I do suggest going to start with some of the other games if you've never played Mega Man at all, but this is an easier entry in the franchise, and if that's something you're looking for, go ahead and grab it. It's out now on eShop. It's out now physical. I can't say enough good things about it. Is it like the best Mega Man game? No, probably not. But for me, this is still a very solid 8 out of 10. That's kind of where I fall. as far as Mega Man 11 goes. I enjoyed my time with it immensely. The boss fights were all unique and interesting enough, and they definitely carried some difficulty with them as well. So Mega Man 11 gets my full recommendation. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Are you picking up Mega Man 11? Thank you guys for watching this review. I hope you guys like Mega Man 11 as much as I do. Let me know if you already purchased it, what you think about the first few hours or the first few stages, something like that, in the comments, and I will get in there and try to talk with you guys about some of this stuff. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them, and I'll do my best to respond to as many as I can. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos, and that is pretty much it. Hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed it, and we will catch you on the next one. Switch Force out.